Chapter 196, Contribution Hall. Kang Chon was very surprised at what he heard. He now finally understood how powerful the Elder of Law Enforcement was. I'm afraid that the Elder of Law Enforcement would be able to kill a Dan Emperor in his heyday with a single move. When he thought about the Demon Dao Harmonization Stage powerhouse that was killed by Thunder King Lei Boshan when he traveled to the Heavenly Dao sect, he should only be an early or mid-stage Harmonization Stage powerhouse, or else he wouldn't have been killed by Lei Boshan so quickly. Senior brother, we've arrived. In front of a dark golden-colored palace, Rushi Current reminded Kang Chon in a low voice. This palace wasn't brilliant, nor was it that majestic. It was just an ordinary palace. The only thing that wasn't ordinary was that this palace was black in color, like it was plunged into endless darkness. Rushi Liu straightened his clothes and said with a solemn face, "Senior brother, let's go in." Kang Chon nodded, his face respectful as he followed him inside the palace. As early as not far away from this palace, the Dan Emperor had already shrunk down within the reverse heavenly cauldron and did not come out. Since it was a world-defying powerhouse like the Elder of Law Enforcement that was unable to discover the reverse heavenly cauldron within Kang Chon's body. From this, it could be seen that the subtlety of the reverse heavenly cauldron made Kang Chon curious. What level of magic treasure was this? Could it be the legendary immortal weapon? However, no matter what level of magic treasure the reverse heavenly cauldron was, he was unable to use it right now. And for the time being, he could only use it as a spatial magic treasure. As Wuxia Current entered the Black Palace, Kang Chon felt a depressing atmosphere appear in the surrounding space. He knew that this was the tension of facing a Geishi powerhouse. Not only Kang Chon, even Rushi Current was also feeling incredibly oppressed at this time, and both of their faces were filled with respect. Within the Great Hall was very simple and empty. Only a middle-aged man in black sat above the Great Hall. His face was draped in golden light, making it difficult to see his face clearly. Kang Chon knew that this was the Elder of Law Enforcement, also his master. Disciple Rushi Current Kang Chon. Greetings to Master. Rushi Current and Kang Chon bowed respectfully one after another. The Law Enforcement Elder's face was covered in golden light, and it was impossible to see his expression at the moment. Only his indifferent voice could be heard resounding in the Great Hall. "Well, both of you sit down." As the Law Enforcement Elder's words fell, two stone chairs appeared behind Kang Chon and running water current, and the two of them glanced at each other as they each sat down. After the two of them sat down, the Enforcement Elder's voice once again sounded. "Are you Shui Liu? You have just broken through the Outblood stage not long ago. Within 3 years, you don't need to go to the Orthodox Demon battlefield. You should travel more to the Taixu and exercise your will, so that you can comprehend the mysteries and advance to Sun as soon as possible." Are you Shui Liu stood up at his words and respectfully said, "Yes, Master." He then sat down. The Law Enforcement Elder's face turned towards Kang Chon, and despite not being able to see his face clearly, Kang Chon could still feel two stern eyes sweeping towards him, and he couldn't help but tremble in his heart. "Kang Chon," said the Law Enforcement Elder, "this time your performance in the Demon Locking Tower was good. You didn't let this seat down. That's why this seat made an exception and accepted you as a disciple. This is the 9 turns of Zhuanggong. You should know from Ryu Shui Liu about the requirements for cultivating this merit techniques. Requirements. Take it and comprehend it yourself." A golden light fell with the words of the Law Enforcement Elder, and came towards Kang Chon *******. Kang Chon did not dodge, and allowed the golden light to shoot into the heart of the eyebrow. In the next moment, a huge heart filled his mind. The 9 revolutions Zhuanggong is divided into a total of 9 levels, equivalent to the 9 realms of a cultivator's Qi practicing stage, foundation building stage, Jidan stage, Yuanying stage, emanation stage, separation of spirit stage, harmonization stage, fortune transition stage, and Mahayana stage. cultivating this gong method to the grand completion realm. The strength of the flesh is comparable to that of an immortal weapon. Receiving this huge information, Kang Chon couldn't help but close his eyes. He was shocked by the power of the 9-turned Zhuang Gong. No wonder the Dan Emperor told him to get the 9-turned Zhuang Gong no matter what. This body refining technique was just as powerful, and it was also very suitable for him. After all, Kang Chon possessed Kang Chon hegemony blood. His physical body was already incomparably powerful. And after cultivating the 9 revolutions Zhuang Gong, I'm afraid that he would be able to utilize the power of this technique even more. After the law enforcement elder had passed on the merit, he then let Kang Chon and Ruishu Yu leave, only instructing them to cultivate well, and did not ask for anything else. Coming out of the Black Palace, Kang Chon had an excited look on his face. This 9 revolutions Zhuang Gong was very powerful, enough for him to be used for the rest of his life. More importantly, for him now, this body refining technique had completely solved his physical body problem, and he could continue to improve his physical body's power and strength. Senior brother, let's each go back to our own cultivation. You remember to go around Dark Gold Peak when you have time to familiarize yourself with it. Don't stay in the house all day to cultivate. Also, go to the Forced Zhuan Hall when you have time. The Forced Zhuan stones there are very interesting. I think you'll like it. After Rivers of Water finished speaking, he left. Kang Chon watched his third senior brother leave, a thoughtful look in his eyes. Forced Zhuan Hall, Forced Zhuan stone. What kind of things? Kang Chon was puzzled in his heart. Third senior brother shouldn't be bothering me with some boring things. That Forced Zhuan Hall must have something marvelous. I'll have time to take a look at it some other day. After thinking about it, Kang Chon took a deep look at the Black Palace behind him and traveled towards his cabin. Although the law enforcement elder had said that he should choose a place to live on the Dark Gold Peak, he liked the cabin near the waterfall, so he chose to continue living there. After returning to the cabin, Kang Chon decisively discarded all distractions and began to comprehend the 9-turned Zhuang Gong that the law enforcement elder had passed on to him. This Gong method was very profound, and even with Kang Chon's talent, it was not something that could be comprehended in a short period of time. He followed the 9 realms that this Gong method was divided into, comprehending them layer by layer. As his divine thoughts sank into the sea of his heart, the first layer of the 9 revolutions, Zhuang Gong transformed into a stream of obscure information that came to him. And Kang Chon gazed at it, comprehending the subtleties of this Gong method. According to what the technique said, the first layer of the 9 revolutions, Zhuang Gong corresponded to the Qi practicing stage. So it wasn't very difficult to understand, and Kang Chon gradually comprehended it after 3 days. He had a strong talent base. Cultivating the 9 revolutions, Zhuang Gong was twice as effective with half the effort, and the results were very good. In this way, time was rapidly lost in the midst of cultivation, and half a year passed in the blink of an eye. This day, in the cabin, Kang Chon opened his eyes. The purple rays of light asterisk came out. He took a deep breath, and a low drink suddenly came out of his mouth. In the next moment, Kang Chon's body underwent a shocking change. His muscles jutted out violently, every muscle in his entire body, which made his figure become sturdy all of a sudden, as if the second senior brother he had seen at the beginning was as strong as he was. Raw, as the muscles of his entire body swelled, Kang Chon felt that his entire body was filled with powerful strength. He let out a low roar, and his entire body instantly rushed out of the wooden house. Swish! After exiting the wooden house, Kang Chon's figure flashed and appeared under the waterfall in an instant. Facing the onslaught of the Milky Way's water that flew down 3,000 feet, Kang Chon's face did not change its color. He stood straight there. His entire person did not even move a bit, revealing a very strong aura. The terrifying waterfall impacted down, but couldn't shake Kang Chon by half a step. He didn't even shake his body a bit. About half an hour later, Kang Chon rushed out from under the waterfall, his body restored to its original state. He changed into a purple robe and put it on, and transported his true essence to dry his hair. At this moment, Kang Chon looked refreshed. TSK. This first layer of the 9 revolutions, Zhuanggong, is so powerful. I'm really looking forward to how powerful you brat will be after you've practiced all of them. I'm afraid that it's not much worse than the previous generation of Kang Chon's overbearing blood. Emperor Dan's awe-inspiring voice resounded in his mind. Kang Chon smiled slightly bitterly at his words and said, I've only practiced the first layer of the 9 revolutions, Zhuanggong, now. It's still not even close. I don't know how long it will take if I want to practice all of them. As far as he knew, in the entire Heavenly Tao sect, only the Elder of Law Enforcement had practiced the 9 revolutions, Zhuanggong, to the highest level, but he had not reached the Grand Completion realm either. Wanting to practice it to the Grand Completion realm did not only require strong talent, but also excessive perseverance, as well as a strong will and indispensable miraculous encounters. After all, the 9-turn Zhuanggong was the top body refining technique in the Flood continent. So how could it be so easy to practice it to the Grand Completion realm? And the Emperor of Dan was only sighing. However, to be able to practice the first layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong within a month, Kang Chon's talent was indeed powerful. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Kid, you just need to keep up this motivation. Sooner or later, you will be practiced one day, Emperor Dan said with a smile. Well, what your old man said makes sense, Kang Chon nodded, a determined look in his eyes. This 9 revolutions, Zhuanggong, was very powerful. Just practicing the first layer allowed him to increase his strength by 2 times, which shocked him greatly. To know that his physical body was already very powerful, after increasing it by 2 times, it was even stronger and terrifying. Kid, after coming to the Heavenly Tao sect for so long, you should also go out and have a look around. It's impossible to become a strong person by just shutting down and cultivating. You have to interact more with other people. The cultivators above Dark Gold Peak, all body refiners. You can compare yourselves to each other and exchange ideas, Emperor Dan reminded. Closed-door cultivation was ultimately the end of the road, and the commonwealth of the world was the right way. Strong people in the cultivation world didn't come out of closed-door cultivation, but rather killed and battled their way out. Kang Chon naturally understood this. In fact, he had already planned to go out for a spin. This time, he had practiced the first layer of the 9-turn Zhuanggong, so it was just the right time to go out to get some air and relax. Little Gold, let's go out for a spin together. Kang Chon returned to the wooden house and woke up Xiaojin, who was in the middle of cultivation. Ever since he opened his spiritual intelligence, Xiaojin cultivated very hard. And now that he had cultivated for half a year on top of the Dark Gold Peak, where the spiritual chi was thick, his cultivation had long since caught up with Kang Chon, and he would be able to break through to the Yuanying stage at any time. However, Xiaojin is a demonic beast. Once promoted to the Yuanying stage, it will transform into a form to cross the tribulation. Like the Vajra divine monkey, this kind of demonic beast with strong talent, the transformation tribulation is very powerful. So Emperor Dan let it suppress its cultivation for the time being, and wait until the accumulation is thick. And then it will break through not too late. Brother, where are we going? Little Gold turned into a small body and jumped to sit on top of Kang Chon's shoulder. One person, one monkey, traveled towards the outside of the bamboo forest. The top of Dark Gold Peak was very large. Kang Chon wandered around for half a day before he could figure out the direction. His first stop was the Hall of Contributions. He had long heard about the wonders of the Contribution Hall, but he had never come to take a look at it. This time, he would just take the opportunity to see the wonders of the Contribution Hall. Following the path that his third senior brother had brought him to, Kang Chon found the Hall of Contributions, which was sparsely populated, with only a few sparse law enforcement disciples coming in and out. Hey, Did you hear about it? The law enforcement elder has taken in a disciple called Kangchon something or other. I heard that the talent is very powerful. This time, he broke through the 7th floor of the demon locking tower and tied for first place with Dao Yi, who was born with a Dao body. Of course I know, but it's been almost half a year, and I haven't seen this Kangchon. Could it be that he's not cultivating above Dark Gold Peak? Several law enforcement disciples walked out from the middle of the contribution hall, and the topic of conversation was surprisingly Kangchon. As Kangchon missed his body with them, he couldn't help but touch his nose in consternation, daring to think that he was already so famous now. He didn't think about it, the fact that the elder of law enforcement had made an exception to accept him as a disciple would naturally attract everyone's attention. However, although Kangchon was the disciple of the law enforcement elder, very few people had seen him. So these law enforcement disciples could not recognize Kangchon even as they met him. After entering the Hall of Contributions, Kangchon saw an elder of the Heavenly Dao sect. This person was called Elder Wong, who sat exclusively in this Hall of Contributions